Yesterday I talked about Crucible, the new game by Amazon/Relentless Studios, which is kind of a shooter, MOBA, hero shooter mix type of game, and reminds me very much of Gigantic, which made me very happy, and apparently a lot of you enjoyed that a lot as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about one of the characters in detail, which is Bugg, already a fan favorite for many, and I want to break down his story and everything a little bit, as well as going into his abilities and the upgrades and how that could synergize in specific builds. The information for this is stuff I pieced together from the fandom wiki, from the post on Reddit that's available about Bugg, as well as his video, and looked through all the different abilities and cooldowns there and everything, so that I actually got a decent amount of information. But of course, these are all just infos based on the videos we have so far. Before we dive in, if you're a new viewer to my channel and you maybe found me through Crucible, then feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell to stay updated for more Crucible info as well as Smite information. And with that, let's jump in. We begin with the background. The Botani Mark I unit, designated Bugg, was created for use on Crucible. The higher-ups at the Scalzi Dokanimo Corporation had it prototyped as a test to see if androids can take over the production and recovery of the lucrative essence. To do this quickly and cheaply, they patched an experimental AI into a terraforming chassis. The result is a friendly, people-pleasing android who is good with plans and programmatically devoted to eradicating the competition when it comes to essence hunting. After the destruction of Colony Zero, Bugg's software and weaponry packages were upgraded. Bugg has come to think of the planet as his garden, which he must tend and protect. There's also the slight matter of his programming. Somehow, there's a slight corruption of Bugg's AI. He intends to get to the bottom of it before anyone else finds out, and takes him away from his garden for decommissioning. Personal file. Bugg wants to be friends with everyone. Unfortunately, he also wants to destroy anyone who's a threat to his garden, which is everyone. Makes things pretty awkward for the little guy. I've seen 1,000 Botani Gardener bots in my career. They're cute, friendly, harmless. But this one's got upgrades. It's a tough world down there. Guess a Gardener bot needs an extra strong pesticide, and a directive to kill intruders on sight. So based on that, we can tell that he'll probably not be as cute as he looks. And with that, let's jump into his stats. Generally speaking, Bugg is heavily focused on control and mobility. He can dash around the map quite a lot, and he can set up his plan strategically to give him control over the map. His damage is average-ish, but his range is rather short, so he has to get in the middle of the fight. His defense is not the highest, but also not as low as it can get, while his health is relatively low. From what I was able to find out from the gameplay footage so far, I think his health starts at 600, and then the highest I've seen was 903 or so HP. Other units also start around 600-ish, but I've also seen tanky units with 2400 health, so he's really not towards the top end there. On the other hand, he can of course offset a fair bit of that through his high mobility. His primary weapon and gun is a sprayer that damages opponents and activates seed pods, which we'll get to in a bit. This weapon has a bit of an arc, so if you fire a projectile it goes up a little bit and then it drops down, which is also what limits his range. It has 15 ammo per mag, so you can afford to miss a few shots and you'll still not have to reload all too often. Now let's get to his abilities. Whenever I'm going to talk about an ability, I'm also going to talk about the potential upgrades for that same ability, so you have the direct connection here. The first ability are his thrusters. These thrusters allow you to propel yourself forward and vertically and basically allow you to float for a moment. It seems that this ability has no cooldown, but I'm not sure if it is unlimited charges. It was a bit hard to tell, but you can definitely use it quite a fair bit. This ability can be upgraded with a level 5 upgrade, and that is high-grade biofuel, which gives you an initial burst of speed when using your thrusters. His second ability is Shield Burst. You, your seeds, your plants, and nearby allies gain a temporary overshield, which obviously blocks damage. This seems to have roughly a 20 seconds cooldown. If you level the Tech and Protect skill on level 3, then the shield burst amount is increased by 50%. So you can go quite tanky with this. His next ability, and probably most important ability, is Seed Pod. This fires a seed pod that can be activated by spraying or by shooting it with your normal gun. This ability seems to have roughly 4 seconds cooldown and stores 3 seeds at once. This can be upgraded with various skills throughout various levels. The first one is the level 1 ability Early Bloomers, with which you don't have to water the seed pods for them to be activated, and they will be activated right away. Additionally, another level 1 ability also indirectly affects this, and that's Onboard Diagnostics. Your medkit now regenerates every 30 seconds. It also creates a healing area for you, your plants and allies. Then on level 3 you can unlock the upgrade Protective Husk. Seed pads are spawned with overshields. What's interesting here is that you can combine this with either of the level 1 skills, and either you make super tanky plants by having them have shields and also being able to heal them, or you make it so that they are shielded and they will attack right away because you don't have to water them. Either option really goes for interesting playstyles with the plants. There's an additional skill on level 3 that can also be utilized for this ability, and that is Booming Blossoms. Plants can be watered until they are overcharged, stunning nearby enemies. This is obviously very effective for a more aggressive playstyle, especially because you can basically stun someone between your other plants as well to damage them more. On level 5 you can also unlock Daisy Chain, which allows plants to attack one additional target through their ability, so a chain that goes from one to the next and damaging both of them. I imagine this will especially be useful in the 2v2 mode as well. So overall, a bunch of different damaging tools for this ability, as well as more tankiness to those pods and making them useful quicker. His last ability is also interesting. This is Crop Dust. Creates a slowing, damaging area effect beneath you with a 20 seconds cooldown. This ability is already upgradable on level 1 with High pH Mixture. Spray damage increased by 25% as damage over time. The ability can further be upgraded with the level 4 skill, or rather it will be upgraded because this is the only level 4 skill. With No Weed Pesticide, Crop Dust applies vulnerability. I'm not entirely sure what this vulnerability does, so I can't speak on that in detail. Outside of that, you obviously have the medkit as well, which will be upgraded by Onboard Diagnostics. It seems you can actually have multiple shots of the medkit. I'm not sure how that works yet, but we've already talked about this one when we talked about the seeds. Other than that, there's one upgrade that is not tied to any ability, and that's Realigned Gyros. This increases your normal movement speed from 4.5 to 5.5 meters per second, just overall giving you more mobility. So generally speaking, we can very clearly tell that Bugg will have a in and out playstyle where he can go around fights, look for engagements, but then also heavily disengage and disencourage enemies from chasing him by spraying behind him or putting strategic plants in the path. And he can also be more supporty. He can heal allies if that's the playstyle he wants to go for, and shield allies more. He can put some plants in bushes at scout and so on. And he can generally, I would say, be very annoying from how this kit works. I think it can be quite frustrating to fight against him with his high mobility, relatively small model, and the damaging plants attacking at the same time, and you not being able to get to him because of the dust that you have to deal with. That is all that we have for Bugg so far. I hope this was interesting and insightful. I'm very much looking forward to be able to play him in game. And other than that, I thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, feel the sub button and maybe the bell so you'll be notified of future Crucible as well as my content. And other than that, see you for the next one soon. DukeSloth, out.